Morning peeps, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. We're back peeps, and it's good to be back as well. I got back early hours of Tuesday morning. I was in Saudi for just over 2 weeks. A very different trip for me this time round, but very, very good. I say different because obviously you guys know I was there doing the boxing, but then I was asked to do the tennis, which became massive because Nadal announced his retirement. So yeah, that was good to be asked. I sat down with Nadal. It was a nice conversation. And then during tennis week, I was approached by Cristiano Ronaldo's club to come and interview Ronaldo. I was like, eh? Of course. So the week or the 2 weeks for me was boxing, tennis, football. In the end, the Ronaldo interview didn't happen, but it was good to be asked. I'll tell you why it didn't happen. So I get to the club. I think this is Monday morning or Sunday? Monday morning. So I get to the club. They're training. So I go and watch the training a little bit. I then have to do a couple of like hits to camera. So like, welcome to Al Nassr, blah, blah, blah. And then I go to where the interview is going to take place. It's all set up. But then Ronaldo finishes training and basically says, can we do it later on in the week? I'm like, oh my God, I can't stay. I can't. I've got things to do. So we didn't get it done. I believe we're going to get it done in a couple of weeks. But the club want me to work with them and just do like interviews with Mane, Ronaldo, etc., etc. So yeah, crazy. Honestly, a crazy couple of weeks. Yeah, but I enjoyed it. Honestly, very, very different. As I said, normally it's just boxing and then in and out, right? But this was boxing, tennis, with a couple of the biggest tennis players ever, and then arguably, I don't know, I know there's a Messi Ronaldo argument going on, but arguably, sorry, one of the greatest footballers ever as well. So very productive trip. This might be a long video just because we've got to catch up on a few things. There's no point just skipping what's happened in the last week or so. Azim, a lot of people are talking about Anthony Yarde, etc. What happened to Tim Tszyu? I do think it's important that we cover all of those things. I do want to show you this though. If you are following me on Instagram, you would have seen this already, so apologies. But if you aren't, look at these. Look at these gloves signed to me. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that? Yeah, you can. This one is from Dimitri Bivol, who signed it to me, to Ade from Dimitri Bivol. And this one is from Artur Beterbiev to Ade from Beterbiev. Pretty cool, right? I don't know where they're going to go. Obviously, they need to go somewhere. I've got a pair of Canetto gloves up there signed. I've got the Martin Bacoli ones. We're going to have to find a space for them. The competition to win all this equipment, I'm going to do the video. Might do it tomorrow. I might do the video tomorrow. I don't know what the question's going to be to win it all. It might be a case of you telling me why I should give it to you and I'll just pick someone. But yeah, excited to give someone all that equipment so they can start their YouTube journey. All right, let's see what there is to talk about today. Junior middleweight matchmaking madness. The top 15 fights to make at 154 pounds. Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, 154 pounds is the best division in boxing. From nowhere. I mean, you could make an argument to say the heavyweight division is still number one just because we always like to see the big boys throw down. But in terms of like very high level world class boxers, I mean, 154 pound division, I mean, there are so many matchups in it, like so many. I wrote a few names down, and look, we know how boxing works. All of these guys won't fight each other. It is how it is. And there's a couple of guys that are probably one fight away from calling it quits, right? Terence Crawford's maybe one fight away. Will he fight a 154 pounder? I don't know, but he's, as it stands right now, champion at 154 pounds. So you got Terence Crawford. You got Errol Spence, who is going to fight Sebastian Fundora. We're here in January. Sebastian Fundora is a unified champion. You got Madrimov, who pushed Terence all the way. He fights Boychuk, who pushed Virgil Ortiz all the way. You've got Virgil Ortiz. You got the new beast, Murtazaliev. Always struggle with that name. Who absolutely put a beating on Tim Tszyu. I did a video talking about this a couple of weeks back, maybe even longer ago. Maybe a month ago. I said this kid's a problem. And look, I'm not going to say I expected him to wipe out Tim Tszyu the way he wiped him out. But I said he is a problem. And he proved to be a bigger problem. Xander Zayas. Mate, no one's talking about this kid. Well, they are, but not in the world level mix, he will be in it next year. He's so talented, and he's already got that Puerto Rico following, so I expect him to do some damage next year. I don't know what's going on with Jermell Charlo. There is a lot of talk about him coming back. Now, whether or not that means to the 154-pound division or just the boxing, I don't know. But let's not disrespect Jermell Charlo at 154. Yes, going up to 168 against Canelo didn't work out for him. But at 154, he's very, 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 very good. How old is Jermell? I'm going to say 34. 34. Could be a couple more fights in Jermell. Could be. There could be. Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu still there. Yes, he took a bit of a beating. But let him rest up. I mean, Tim Tszyu could still put on good performances against any of those guys I've just mentioned. The other 8 or 9 guys I just mentioned. I'm not one of those people that someone loses and done. Get out. I'm not like that. I can be when it comes to AJ, but that's it. Jaron Ennis will move up to 154. His dad's spoken about it. I expect that move to come. I don't expect him to become undisputed at 147, not because he can't become undisputed, because he certainly can, but because those fights just aren't big. Like Brian Norman, not really a big fight. Barrios, not a big fight. Stanionis, not a big fight. So I expect him to look at that 154 the way I've done and be like, Jesus Christ, there are some big fights up there. There are some tough fights, but there are some big fights that make a lot of money. So yeah, you look at that. I mean, I've named, what's that? Is that 12 names or so I've just mentioned? That's mad. Because again, all of those guys match up, like, and there's others, by the way. There's others, but all of those names, I mean, any matchup and it's good fights. Any matchup. And again, there will be names added to it in the next sort of year and a half. Guys that are coming up that are 12-0, 10-0, 15-0 that haven't yet reached the surface where we're like, okay, you're a big name. But they're coming through. I mean, again, Mutazaliev is a prime example of us not knowing someone doesn't mean they're not a killer. Now, no one predicted that. So there's guys out there that can cause some damage. They just need opportunities. Like a Madrimov, like a Boychuk, and look what can happen. So yeah, 154, frightening right now. Frightening. All right, the same thing's going to happen again. Jarrell Miller warns against Dubois AJ2. I mean, February 22nd is likely. It's likely, man. I don't know what you do. I mean, I think I've spoken about this at length, so I don't want to kind of regurgitate old information, but if you're AJ, I think the only 2 options are Fury and Dubois. And if you are waiting for Fury, that means you're not going to make a decision until December 22nd. And by that time, that February 22nd date's done. And then what? What if Fury wins? I said this, but if Fury wins, does AJ Fury happen? Is there going to be that much interest in seeing AJ, who came off a loss fight, Fury is coming off the biggest win of his career, because it would be against Usyk? I think that statement's true. I think Fury beating Usyk is bigger than Fury beating Klitschko at this stage of his career. Bear in mind, Fury came off a loss to Usyk, and I think it's bigger than Fury beating Deontay Wilder second time or third time round. I think this is a big win. So I don't know what you do. I think AJ will go for Dubois, just because I don't think he's going to want to wait 2 months to find out what happens with Fury and Usyk. And I think AJ will fight Dubois February 22nd. That's what I think. Moses Italmo appreciates Dempsey McKean agreeing to fight him. I think Moses is insane. I think he's going to fly through McKean. It's not disrespecting Dempsey McKean. We see Dempsey put up a really good showing against Hrgovic. Push Hrgovic all the way. But I think Moses has just got it. Whatever it means to you, he's got it. He's got that special X factor. And I hope he's as good as I think he is, because I think British boxing is crying out for a new star. I think world boxing's struggling. I was going to do a video on this about where are the fucking stars. Because the reason I say that is because I put a tweet out saying, if you can make any fight right now, what fight are you making? And it was all old names. Just old names. Guys coming to the end, old names. Like, we really hoped that 4 or 5 kings in America, and look, they've done some good work, but I think we hoped that they would be the flag bearers for boxing right now. Ryan, Devin, Teofimo, Shakur and Javante. And look, some might say they are, but I expected it to be way bigger than it is. like way bigger. So I do think we need new, fresh meat, like new talent. And I think Moses, I think worldwide could be that new talent. I really do. I think he's an incredible fighter. Quick word on Adam Azim beating Ohara Davis. Very, very good win. By the way, I know Ohara has called it quits after, and I get it. But I still think there's a bit of life left in Ohara. I do think the long layoff and only having a round as well. Obviously, he got knocked out in his fight prior to Saturday. I do think there's something there. I think he could almost... and I was speaking to Gareth about this, Gareth A. Davis. I don't want him to stay around as long as Chisora, but he's almost a bit like that, isn't he? Where he could be in good fights, really good fights, because he's entertaining. He's good on the mic now. He never really liked being that guy because he had a bit of a stutter problem. Remember, he used to stutter quite a bit. He's now very confident in talking, and he's a good fighter. Adam Azim just... bit too young, bit too fresh, but I do think if you matchmake him well, he can be in good fights, fun fights. So well done to Adam Azim. Look, we all want to see Dalton Smith. Whether that's going to happen, I don't know. I spoke about the 154 pound division being very stacked. The 140 division worldwide is very, very stacked as well. I'd say that the ruler of that division is still Teofimo Lopez, who I think is going to go up. But then below that, there are about 8 or 9 guys. Adam's not in that yet, don't get me wrong. But Adam and Dalton Smith are not super far away from somehow jumping into that mix in about 12 months. So they're going to be kept away. And I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. And then the hope is that in 12 to 18 months, there's somehow in the world mix, maybe it's a world title fight. I know you don't want to hear that shit, but that's how boxing works. Anthony Yarde. Obviously, look, wasn't the best Anthony Yarde performance. We are very, very quick to just, shit. I honestly, it's so quick how we do that in boxing. I thought Yarde looked a bit rusty. I thought Yarde maybe had his opponent down in the first round. I thought this was going to be easy work, and then it wasn't, and then it's very difficult to kind of claw it back again. I thought 98-92 was a bit harsh on his opponent. Maybe that's closer to 96-94. Tunde's got to be very careful with what they do with Yarde now. I will always make an argument to say Yarde is a world level boxer. And the reason I make that argument, and I know some people have sort of pushed back on it, is because of those performances against Kovalev and Beterbiev. I think those performances were really, really good. Like, he softened Kovalev up for Canelo. Canelo basically had dead meat on his hands because Yarde was a punch away from getting Kovalev out of there. I remember that fight like it was yesterday, and then eventually just ran out of steam. Maybe mistakes in the corner. Very similar to maybe Ben Davison's voice with AJ, but it was kind of like that. And then against Beterbiev, I think we all know how good Beterbiev is right now, and there were times where he was pushing Beterbiev back. So I know he's a world level fighter, but the problem is when he doesn't fight those guys, he's not fighting world level opponents. So it's very difficult for me to say it with so much, like, yeah, he's definitely, because then someone will fight back and say, well, yeah, but the biggest win is Lyndon Arthur. And I'm like, all right, I get it. But I know he can compete against the tier just below Bivol and Beterbiev. I know he can, but we need to see it now. He's 33. It's time. I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing Ben Shalom is going to secure him to a long-term deal with Boxer. Fucking give us Boazzi Yarde. What are we doing? If not, just do something else. There's some big names in America. I mean, Morrell was fighting Benavidez, and it's risky, but the winner of that. Give us something. And there's a lot of talk about Bivol and Beterbiev having an interim fight or having to have an interim fight, give us Bivol. Give us something. And I think Yarde needs to, really kick on now because, again, 33, I think we're tired of seeing these type of opponents. Like, we've seen that every time there's a loss, there is a dip down. But I don't think he necessarily needs to dip down. I think he's there. And we need to see a bit of a consistent level of top tier opponents now before you wake up and you're 36 and it's too late. Because it will be too late. All right. Let's have a look and see if there's anything else. The press conference is going ahead right now, isn't it? For Fury versus Usyk. I'm not there for it. I don't know who's doing like all the interviews and the face-offs, etc., but I'm not there for it. Can't wait for it. I think it's going to be incredible. I think it's going to be incredible. I know a lot of you have hit back about the undercard. It seems to be very much a kind of prospect undercard, like the guys that are very, very close to kind of knocking on the door to world level. Some already are. Like, I will say this for those of you that are like, it's a shit undercard. Because you don't know the fighters doesn't mean it's shit. Like, you can't say it's a shit undercard when the co-main event is Boychuk Madrimov. That's a fucking great fight. I wanted it to be, I have to admit, the reason I was slightly disappointed is because I wanted it to be an all heavyweight card. Like, I honestly thought that we were going to get Chisora versus Miller and Catterall versus Parker and Zhang versus Bakoli, and Aldo said, take all my money. It ain't that, so it does feel a bit, yeah, but there's still some really, really good fights on it. McCann versus McGraw is a really good fight. Again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Dempsey McKean and Mo Itama. I expect Itama to blow through him, but you never know. I thought Hergovich was going to blow through him, and that didn't happen. So it isn't what I wanted, but it's not that bad either. Regis Prograis versus Jack Catterall this weekend. I go up for that Saturday morning. The fight that I'm really looking forward to on it, which I think is going to be a bit of a firefight, it's going to be a bit of a war, this one, is Reese Bellotti versus Michael Gomez Jr. Reese Bellotti's had a bit of an Indian summer, some good wins of late. Michael Gomez, you guys might remember his dad, I do, who lit up some of the Manchester fight scenes 90s? Must have been the 90s, early 2000s. So it's crazy to see his son fighting, but that's going to be a good scrap. And then it'll be interesting to see what Regis Prograis has left. Very, very disappointed with his performance against Devin Haney. He must have been as well. For him to be the champion and the guy coming up a weight class, and I know Devin Haney was massive on the night, but regardless, this is your weight division. And for you not to win a round in that fight, I mean, is it all done? I don't know. Two southpaws. Jack Catterall's very, very tricky to figure out. I expect Jack to beat him, but because this probably is Regis's last opportunity in a big fight, big opportunity, I expect him to give absolutely everything. Almost a bit like a wild dog. So I think it's going to be interesting for a few rounds, but then I expect Jack just to go away with it. And I expect Jack Catterall to fight the winner of Liam Parrow, Richardson Hitchens. Jack's next fight will be for a world title if he wins. All right, is there anything else, or are we done? I think that is kind of it. All right, guys, girls, peace and love.